The Comanches are a Native American nation from the Great Plains whose historic territory consisted of most of present-day northwestern Texas, eastern New Mexico, southeastern Colorado, southwestern Kansas, western Oklahoma, and northern Chihuahua. Northern Chihuahua, I guess that's Mexico. The rest is just Trump country. So it's safe to say
were Trumps.
100%. The Comanches, big-time Trumpies.
Absolutely.
Dude, Comanches and Hasidic Jews love Trump.
How about the Hasidic Jews?
They fucking love Trump.
I had no idea they love Trump.
They come out with the flags, yeah. It's fucking great.
It's gotta be confusing for like Nazis.
Yeah. I know. They're like, wait, what?
Wait, you guys are on my side?
Dude,
actually takes us to the Comanches quite a bit, and the indigenous people.
Venetia wants us to get there quickly.
When people try to act like they were, like the revisionist history, like the quick history we have of Native Americans is that they were like one with nature and peaceful.
Right.
And it's like, it's actually borderline racist where you're taking away the agency of them. Like,
right.
They were people.
Right.
They were shitty.
Right.
They were just as shitty.
Right.
So, you know.
They had issues. Yeah, because I think like most people don't know because you read this book, but like most people think, I think like America, the United States came in, ripped these good, nature-loving Native Americans from their land, put them on reservations, and we owe them everything. Like we are horrible, so horrible to them, which I'm sure is all true. I know that. That is all true.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the Comanches, is it just one tribe of the Native Americans? The Comanches were bad, or like did you learn that like a bunch of them?
Yeah. There's a ton. There was so many tribes, and they were like the Comanche when they not started, but like the early records of the Comanche were like they were kind of up in like the Rockies, and they were little tiny guys. That's another thing.
Squeaks, we call them on the show. They were
all
squeaks.
like because we have this version of Native Americans that are like the northeastern, the woodland tribes where they're all like avatars.
Right.
Like long and sinuous, how do I say that word?
I don't know. I've never heard of it. Cinnabon?
Sinewy?
Cinnamony?
Anyway, long avatar people.
Long avatar people. Okay.
Yeah. But then you head out west and they were much more like Mexicans.
Right. Just little squeaks.
Little tiny guys.
But those were the Comanches were the squeaks?
The Comanches were the squeaks.
But they were fucking...
And they sucked for a while. And then when the Spanish came over, brought the horses, and then the horses would start to escape and get out. And certain tribes didn't know what to do. Like the Apache were just eating the horses.
Really?
They weren't sure how to... like, these things are good. We're going to keep munching these.
Yeah.
And then the Comanches started riding them and got like incredible at it. And then... So for like centuries, they were the lowest on the pecking order, and they would get fucked up by everybody. Yeah, the Comanches would get rocked by everybody, and then they got horses, and they got revenge, dude. They Columbined out.
Right.
All the people that were picking on them
got
paid for it.
They got it. They got it hard. Wow, dude.
The Comanche were originally a mountain tribe, a branch of the Northern Shoshones, who roamed the Great Basin region of the western United States, of what is now considered Wyoming. Sometime during the late 17th century, the Comanches acquired horses, and that acquisition drastically altered their culture. They rapidly evolved into mounted, well-equipped, powerful people. From this acquisition, they quickly moved onto the plains of eastern Colorado and western Kansas, where there was more food available. This migration also facilitated the acquisition of French trade goods, including firearms. Rising pressure from more powerful and better armed tribes to their north and east, especially the Crow Indians, also encouraged their migration. Only after their arrival at the southern plains did the tribe become known as the Comanches.
Yeah.
So, but did the Comanches kill a lot of like U.S. soldiers too? Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Here, fights between tribes, the Comanches and the other tribes, were meant to raise horror and fear, not necessarily kill.
Okay.
But they were very violent. They would kill, torture, rape, mutilate bodies, and kill children too. That was Civil War stuff. That was tribe on tribe.
Well, that wouldn't be.
Venetia, that was the United States. Yeah. So they would do that. So the Comanches would come in and raid settlers, U.S. settlers. And listen, there's kind of a school. Like I understand. It's like if somebody just moved in to my apartment and threw me out, I'd be fucking pissed. Would I mutilate their children? I don't know. I'd probably just call a lawyer first. But like,
you'd call a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
One of those protesting.
Dude, my lawyer's Jeff Cohen. He's Chunk from the Goonies. I would just call Chunk from the Goonies. I'm like, dude, you got to truffle shuffle your ass over here. and fucking get these native Comanches out of my apartment.
But no, the Indians were doing that to each other. Now, they did apparently take it easy on each other sometimes because they both had this like understanding of we're low on dudes, can't be killing each other like this.
Right.
But they still, I mean, the Comanches were destroyed. I mean, certain tribes were cannibals. They would eat each other.
Really?
They were fucking wild dudes.
They were wild dudes. Yeah.
Yes.
So there were, in fact, cannibal tribes among the Native Americans. Forms of cannibalism amongst Native Americans included both resorting to human flesh during famines and ritual cannibalism, which often consisted of eating just a small portion of an enemy warrior. A famous example of a tribe that performed cannibalism were the Iroquois. However, it was said they solely confined acts of cannibalism to strengthening or purification rituals, or the systemic humiliation of their enemy.
So you could see...
And we teamed up the settlers... it's like watching the NBA. I'm cheering for the white guys the whole time, no matter what team they're on. I'm like, come on. But
yeah, you're like Tyler Herro's the best.
So the settlers and Americans and Spanish, all of them would team up with local tribes that hated other tribes.
Okay.
So there was always tribes like scouts and shit like that. It's the same way. I'm jumping around here, but the Spanish conquered like the Aztec Empire and the Incan Empire with like 100 dudes.
Yeah, Montezuma and all that.
Like literally like 100 conquistadors conquered the whole empire.
Yeah.
Because they just used tribes that were tired of getting their fucking heads cut off
for the
sun. So
100 conquistadors plus thousands of... right.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So that's what happened here.
Well, they kind of... out in the plains, they would like use scouts. They would use scouts because these guys...
Wait, no, what's a scout? What do you mean, like the U.S. scout?
No, they would use native scouts.
Okay.
That would be able to like find shit because the plains are like literally just empty.
There's
These dudes would go out there and die constantly. Like you get lost and die.
Like
every time you went out.
There's no Walmarts or gas stations.
And they'd never seen anything even close to it.
Right.
Like they're from fucking Europe.
Right.
And then they got here and there was just a field forever.
Yeah, because in Europe, like the land was developed there. You run into a town somewhere.
There weren't animals.
Right.
Like there was no animal that could kill you, and there's blizzards out there that are fucking nuts.
Right.
That would just kill everybody that was out.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's just
because they would just go out, no tents. They would just go out and be like, "Oh, this is fine. I'm in fucking France." Like, no, you're not, dickhead.
Yeah. So the Comanche.
You're in a red state.
We're doing work on them.
Yeah.
So anytime they would like send a party out or try to get.
The Comanches wouldn't negotiate with European settlers. They would. No. They would be like, "Oh, where are you lost?" They would cut the head off of your children, and then you would eat that for dinner, and then they'd kill you.
Yeah, and it was like the weird thing to me about a lot of these tribes is like torture was just what you did.
Right.
The Apaches in particular were known for their brutal methods of torture. It was said that the Apaches would skin and roast white captives alive and kill small children by smashing their heads against a stone. Other recollections of torture include prisoners being tied up outdoor on a stake and tortured for 3 days by cutting and pulling off body parts. They also kept prisoners alive as long as possible so that the torture would last longer.
Like it wasn't like torture to like send a message where you would like cut someone's head off and put it on a spike to be like, don't come through here. Yeah. It was just like, oh, we caught one of them.
Yeah.
The way we kill him now is to torture him to death.
Right.
Because it's the worst way to die.
That
was just how they were thinking.
And they were like, absolutely, you guys can keep coming. We're not saying stay out. You can kill that, but this is just what's going to happen to you, and we send a bill to your family. Yeah.
And they would, and it was, they would like gang rape.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's like some specific torture shit that you read in the book? Anything like really wild?
Well, the Cynthia Ann Parker thing was pretty nut. Like,
okay, so Cynthia Ann Parker, also known as Nadua. I guess Cynthia Ann Parker's her Republican name, Nadua is her Democrat name. And she was an American who was kidnapped in 1836 around age 10 by a Comanche war band, which had attacked her family settlement, I guess somewhere in the Great Plains, right?
Yeah, they were in Texas.
Okay.
And what was weird about that, what I thought was interesting is the Spanish, the way they colonized like Texas and Mexico and all that, was very government oriented. Like if you were a settler there, you would be living near a fort. Like you would be as close to the government as possible. But then when the Americans settled like Texas, they were just sending fucking religious nuts out into the woods and be like, all right, you guys build whatever you want.
Right.
So the Parkers were just out in Comancheria.
Thousands of miles away from the closest U.S. fort.
Not even close to shit.
So where?
Cynthia Ann Parker was born in Illinois around 1827. In 1833, her family moved to Texas and built Fort Parker in what is now Limestone County. Comanche warriors attacked the fort in 1836 and took Cynthia Ann Parker captive along with some other people.
And you're saying the Spanish settlers would come, and they always had the assistance of the Spanish government and soldiers. So Spanish settlers weren't getting killed at the rate U.S. settlers were getting killed.
No, they weren't. They were more. The Spanish were also more into like missionary shit. They were sending out like priests and shit. The priests would get fucked up.
They would get fucking destroyed.
every once in a while, they'd run into a non-believer.
Yeah,
and he would take it out on them.
Yeah, just
like, pretty bad shit. Yeah, and that was one thing that was interesting about the book. And the book is the Empire of the Summer Moon.
Right.
It's pretty sick.
Sick.
The way he talked about it was like they came over. A lot of these tribes came over on like the land bridge, between Russia and.
Oh, the Siberian land bridge.
Yeah. So they just for some reason they developed agriculture like 1,000 years after us.
Right.
Us again.
Yeah.
Us. The best.
Yes.
But. So they were just like 1,000 years behind.
Right.
Just time-wise, that's just how they developed. So they were kind of like in the Stone Age when they ran into European settlers. They were like living in like mud.
Right.
And like using rocks and shit.
That's just the truth.
And then they got horses and they immediately jumped like.
So you could see in an mid-1800s European settler's brain to look at these people and just think like they're lesser.
Yeah, and then I mean this is like 17.
Oh, the 1700s.
Well, it's still 1860s. This shit was still going because the Comanches were like some of the last tribes to get taken down because they were wild.
They were so awesome.
They ruled.
Yeah.
They fucking ruled. But yeah.
Now it is often said that the Comanches were the last stand against the settlers. However, facing smallpox, war with other tribes, and conflicts with the Texas Rangers, the leaders of the Comanches agreed to enter treaty negotiations. The negotiations, however, went terribly wrong, and 35 Comanches were killed, and 30 of them were taken as prisoners. The Comanche immediately retaliated with their native allies, attacking and destroying the port town of Linville. But Texas forces eventually defeated the tribe, forcing them to leave the frontier. Later, in what is now called the Red River War from 1874 to 1875, a number of tribes, including the Comanches, broke away from their reservations and attacked white settlers. In a response to this, some 3,000 troops attacked up to 700 natives in Red River Valley in multiple battles before the surviving natives surrendered.
Yeah, that's how they would look at them. They'd be like, these people, they don't have pants.
Right.
What are we doing? Get out of here.
Yeah.
You guys are just living on top of gold.
Right. So we're
going to need that gold.
Yeah.
And then they'd get there and be like, oh, we're in Kansas. There's no gold.
Yeah.
Anyway, get out of here.
Yeah.
Dude, the Spanish spent like 50 years looking for cities of gold.
In Kansas.
And they'd end up in like Kansas and Utah. Like just
fucking
idiots.
They just
kept looking for it. They did Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was nuts.
But so like then this Cynthia Ann Parker thing.
Right. So the Parkers said, and with like another family. So there's always like a bunch of like weird, almost a little too Christian groups of people living in like weird forts they built type thing. And then they would just get killed. They just would get killed.
Yeah, they would. Just,
Indians would come through eventually
and just kill them all, and that's it.
And usually kidnap. Sometimes they would kidnap, and they would adopt you, shit like that.
But I was going to say the kidnapping wasn't for like ransom, like hey, give us money and we'll let this kid go. They were just taking your family for them.
They did start to ransom. Because that's how, they did use them for ransom, but they also were like kidnapping just to be like, hey, we need some fucking people running low.
So they would take them and then make them work. Like you would just have to assimilate.
You'd be a slave. They would enslave.
Yeah, like you were a European settler, and
they were white slaves.
Yeah, what? Wild.
White slaves.
Dope.
Dude, we should fucking have a rock band called the White Slaves.
Slavery was common amongst the natives, which included but wasn't limited to white settlers who they captured. They also held slaves from other neighboring tribes and even had African slaves. A big example of this are the Cherokee, who in 1860 had as many as 4,000 slaves from African descent.
But yeah, they would also give you names, which was funny. So the names were never great.
So Ann Parker's name was Nadua.
Yeah, they would just make up like, and they weren't like sweet names. It wasn't like Mountain Flower or shit. It was like Guy with Boner. Like for real, that was like a guy's name. It was like Erection Stands Tall. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
Dog Fart.
So this Anna Parker girl, Ann Parker, she got kidnapped and lived with the Comanches. She was 10 and lived with the Comanches for 24 years, completely forgetting her white ways. She had 3 kids. Who
wrote that? Who wrote white ways?
Fucking liberal.
Yeah, her white ways?
Yeah. Dude.
What was her white ways?
Yeah, what were they? She fucking brunch.
She forgot English and she learned the Comanche ways.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, she doesn't look white in this photo, does she? Really?
No, dude. I mean, she actually doesn't. I don't know what she looks like. She looks like she has a skin condition for sure. So her captor, Peter Kinankuna, was a war chief who had many wives. Venetia threw that in. She put war chief parentheses who had many wives himself.
He was a womanizer.
Yeah, she's like ill. She was like Peter Kinakuna, or as I call him, war chief fuckboy.
Yeah. He also, was a slave owner who raped and tortured. But yeah, he had a bunch of wives.
Yeah, but he had a bunch of wives. Gross. Like, what did his main wife think? Like, disgusting. Patriarchy. Yuck.
Dope.
RBG, miss you. So this fucking Ann Parker, who was a 10-year-old white European settler, got kidnapped by Peter Kankuna, the war chief. Her Comanche name, by the way, Nadua, means someone found. She actually got so crazy, she started joining in on raids and questioning people and killing people, and she just became a full fucking Comanche girl.
Wait, I don't know if she joined any raids. Did that say that she did?
Dude, it's history hyenas. Wow. Reality is a suggestion.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's... What
do you know about her?
She did get nutty. She would have to fight. You had to fight constantly.
Okay.
The Comanches did have a full fucking dudes rock setup, dude.
Right.
The women did everything.
Right.
The men would go hunt, and fight, and then chill at the camp, and the women had to take apart the buffalo, do everything with all that.
Yeah.
They were the women
Slice
were slaves.
the garlic.
The women were slaves, which ruled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the same thing with the Puritans that I just learned in Salem. The Puritan society, which I didn't even know, Puritanism as a religion, it doesn't exist anymore. There's nobody that's a Puritan. It's not an official religion. It's doesn't exist. I just never even thought about that. But same thing with the reason why eventually the witch trials happened was because they would tell the Puritans it was a man-dominated society. The women, their daughters, wives, nobody could even leave the house unless to do your chores, because they believed if you left as a woman, they were the only one. They were the only ones susceptible to the devil's temptations. Men couldn't get susceptible to the devil, so they said only the women could. So you had these crazy paranoid women growing up, that they thought that the devil was everywhere, and if one of them got fucking tempted or did something normal, they would be like, you're a witch. So it's very similar. Comanches sound a lot like the Puritans in that sense, where it's
yeah, but the Comanches did fuck around, they pranked each other.
Really?
They were a fun group.
What did they do? What are some pranks?
I don't know. I don't remember some.
I thought you read this book.
I do. Look, just classic pranks, dude.
Yeah, just fucking,
I don't know.
They put whoopee cushions down.
Yeah, they loved pranks.
Dude, they would do all that shit.
Yeah, because most of the records come from white slaves that the Comanches had.
Yeah, because Comanches did they have writing or an alphabet or anything?
No. They used most of these tribes used knots on a string to communicate. I don't know how the fuck it even works. They'd be like, this is time.
Really?
They had beads to be here's our story. People be like, what the fuck?
What?
He gave us a necklace?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the history of our tribe.
What?
We're gonna go ahead and write your history.
Yeah, just read it. Is it one of those things where it's we're not even sure if what's real or what could the Comanches' evilness been exaggerated by the whites because of this?
It's evil. You're being very Eurocentric here. It's evil through Western morality.
Right.
Through Plains morality. If you're fucking literally in the Stone Age.
Yeah.
You can fucking gang rape if you catch someone.
It's not that evil.
It's not that evil. It's just this feels good.
Yeah. That's what it is. It's just pleasure seeking.
They were pleasure seeking.
I get it. Good.
The history of the tribes was mainly taught through the spoken word from generation to generation by these so-called keepers, who were their version of a modern-day historian. However, Native Americans of the northern Great Plains region recorded their history through paintings on bison hides called winter counts. Winter counts were preserved by keepers who painted the images and served as storytellers.
I think it was the Parker raid. One of the aunts, they got one of the aunts, her aunt, and they just they gang raped her in front of all the kids.
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, come on, kids, you're with us.
Yeah, they're like, who wants apple slices?
Just their aunt in the dirt.
Yeah.
And then I think they dragged her. They
And
like
killed
tied her
to
to a
death.
horse and dragged her
To death.
Yeah, after they,
That's what happens.
they were having fun, dude.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you can't.
The Apaches were, or the
Yeah.
Comanches were having a good time.
It's one of those things where it's like, you can't. What if she got pregnant? After.
I'm not gonna raise some fucking kid.
Yeah.
Some kid.
Valentina's like, no, edit it. We're just kidding.
I mean, it's not us, dude.
Yeah.
It's not us. The whites were the ones being white slaves.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I have nothing to do with this. I'm fucking of Italian and German ancestry.
Yeah.
Our people were not here.
Yeah. Yeah, they weren't there yet.
They weren't there. So it's like, okay, so Ann Parker, Nadula, she forgot the white ways, as Venetia said, and she just became full Comanche. And then on a raid, on a U.S. raid, they got her. They noticed she had blue eyes. And they're like, oh, this girl, let's bring her back to her people. And she didn't understand English, didn't know her name, was sad that the U.S. killed her family, even though she was like...
Yeah, she got it twice, which is tough.
Yeah, she
had 2 families get murdered by both sides.
Yeah, she was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everywhere she goes, there's a group of dudes show up and kill her family.
Kill her family and rape her aunts. And they're like, what the fuck? Her daughter's name was Prairie Flower. And what a Democrat name. And she grew up learning English, but died of pneumonia at a young age. So Prairie Flower died early.
COVID.
Yeah, COVID. It sounds like COVID. After a few years, Nadula died, and was thought that it was thought that Ann Parker, aka Nadula, died from starving herself from grief.
In 1860, Texas Rangers raided the village and captured Cynthia Ann Parker. She was then taken to her uncle's farm in Birdville, Texas, where she tried to run away several times. Depressed and lonely, Cynthia Ann Parker got weakened by self-imposed starvation, and she eventually died from influenza in 1870.
So she just was so, but I get it's one of those things where when you watch something, when you hear about the Comanche stuff or the Salem witch trial stuff, you're like, how did people live? How did anyone not just want to kill themselves by 20? But it's they didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So do you ever think about how we're living? People 300 years from now be like, could you imagine?
For sure.
But what do you think it is? What is there a thing?
What's going to be ours?
Yeah, what's the thing that we're doing right now, or a thing that they're like, ugh, imagine where they had to do that? I don't even know where we go from here, futuristically.
Yeah. I don't either.
It's because I always wonder, if I was a Comanche Indian, I'd be like, dude, it'd be great to have pants. It'd be great to not have to take 7 years to get 3 miles. It'd be nice to have somewhere to shit and not have to cover it. But we have all those things. It's what else do you want? You have cars that drive themselves now, planes, iPhones. What do you think people 300 years from now will be like, ugh, imagine 2020 idiots?
Yeah, you had to read.
Maybe that, yeah. You think that's what it is?
Talk.
That's probably what it is, right?
Huh?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Huh?
We'll just be fucking bots, full
you
robots.
Had to tolerate Democrats? At that point, Trump will have been...
Yeah.
He'll probably still be alive.
I was going to say, yeah, he's not going to die. He's going to freeze his body. Trump will never die. It's not going to happen, dude.
He's going to be dying soon, too.
You think so, dude? How did
if he would have died from COVID, come on.
Oh, my God.
That would have been so funny.
Could you imagine that would have happened?
Oh.
Dude, I was like, no. We're just kidding. It's a Comanche thing.
It's just a Comanche thing. It's a Comanche thing.
So who's this fucking... Now we got a big one.
That's Quanah, dude. He's
okay, so who's the tall one?
That's Parker's daughter, or son, Quanah.
So this one is half... He's actually half European settled white slave, half Comanche.
Yes.
Interesting.
And then he's
the chief's son.
He becomes the most of that's another thing. A lot of these tribes, the Comanche, were they weren't there wasn't one chief. There was a bunch of different tribes within the Comanche. Well, that just really never worked together, really didn't communicate too much.
So that's hard to understand.
It was just kind of an alliance where
there's not one leader at all.
No. I think Quanah did become a main chief.
They practiced autonomy. So what happened is that he because they were being pushed into settlements to reservations, he wasn't he was told, he was appointed by the US government, you're the chief, and it's no, that's not really a thing, but and it kind of was because he was half white, and he was also really strong. He was, really tall, as you said before, that they were usually really short.
Jacked, dude.
But and he was really brave. He took stabbings, and he would kill people when he was really well known for raiding and stealing other horses. But Yeah, then
they love stealing horses.
He befriended the government after. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
he was at FDR's funeral, right?
Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah.
He's the man, and he was telling jokes. I'm telling you, the Comanche were funny.
Yeah.
They were genuine, like in the book, like a historical book, they were known for being funny.
Right.
Which is
like jokes in English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, after like committing you just go burn a family to death. A couple gags.
Interesting.
But no, Quanah was the fucking man.
So he was a good Comanche. He wasn't doing,
he was
doing everything else.
You're stuck in this world of good and bad.
Yeah.
This is history, man.
Yeah.
You know that.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Oh, he was friends with notable Teddy Roosevelt, went to his 1905 inauguration.
Yeah.
So I said he went to FDR's funeral, which would be in 1945. What an idiot.
Yeah, he fought the Nazis also.
Yeah.
But I forgot to include this. This is funny.
Yes, tell us, please.
Because when you were talking about them getting like pushed into reservations and shit, early you got to remember that like tribes like who the fuck was in Georgia?
Appalachians?
Yes. No. The Trail of Tears.
Algonquins?
Trail of Tears.
Iroquois?
Was
Mohicans?
No.
Who's the Trail of Tears?
There's a bunch of Trail of Tears.
I have to really learn about this. Cherokees.
Yeah, the Cherokees.
Cherokee, Chickasaw, Muskogee, Airmen.
The Jeep Grand Cherokees had to...
Dude.
And then they had to get sent to Comancheria. So
what's Comancheria?
That's where the Comanche live. So
okay.
we were displacing all these tribes. We're displacing all these tribes from the east and just sending them to live with the Comanches.
Thinking that, you're Native Americans, they're Native Americans,
who would immediately fucking kill them and steal everything they had.
Right.
So they got, it was terrible.
The relocation of the Cherokee people is what is historically referred to as the Trail of Tears, which was imposed on them by then President Andrew Jackson. Out of the 15,000 Cherokees that were moved to Oklahoma, 4,000 of them died on the Trail of Tears.
So Cherokees weren't really like a fighting. Some of these tribes weren't violent.
I mean, I'm sure they were, but they, especially towards the east, they ran into the paleface pretty early.
Got it.
So like the Comanche had like a century to learn how to ride horses, get guns, shit like that.
Right.
A lot of the eastern tribes had, it was normal.
No chance. Yeah. Yeah, because that's a good point. Like by the time it was literally 100 years, the Cherokee Indians knew what white people were 100 years before the Comanches did. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's crazy to think back in history. Like, that's just what it is. Like news of something just took months.
Yeah. Some guy had to like walk to St. Louis.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of guys coming.
Yeah.
Like 40 years later.
Yeah. It's just what it is.
See one white dude.
Yeah. It's like I always would think too, like writing letters like in the Civil War, like a soldier writing a letter to like his mom or wife and be like, I'm alive, I'm great, I survived this battle. And then it gets there 4 months later, it's like, no, dude, you died a day later. So it's like, as their wife, I'd be like, I don't believe that. Like, are you alive or dead? I always thought about that. Because it just takes too long for me to fucking know if that, like I would just be sitting in constant anxiety.
Yeah, if you were in the Civil War?
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, there was a gun in the Civil War called the Devil's Breath. I was like, I don't want to smell that.
It would suck.
Yeah, dude. But I mean, it's interesting how it's like Native Americans, like we are part of their history and they're part of ours. I mean, we kind of it's just one in this. It's just you can't get around it. Like things were messy back then on both sides. That's just what the truth is.
There's good people on both sides.
Yeah, there's good.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah, there's good people on both sides.
Yeah, the honkies did get they would go a little overboard sometimes.
Yeah, more overboard than the Comanches, you think?
Comanches went pretty hard, out of the gate.
But I guess what people would say, progressive people here would say, is Comanches were provoked.
No, the Comanches they invaded, they took that land. Like that, they didn't start there.
Like the U.S. told the Cherokees to go west, and then the Comanches came and took it.
Yeah, but no, the people that were there before, there's all types of fucking like Crow and Sioux, all these fucking people that were out there, Apache, the fucking Pueblos, all those people were out there. Right. And the Comanches came down and just started fucking everybody.
The Comanches did to their own people what the U.S. did to the...
And that's exactly what every tribe did to get to where they were.
That's just what it was.
When we're taking a closer look at the migration of the Comanche, we can see that they moved from Wyoming south to Colorado. In Colorado, they became bison hunting nomads. After that, the Comanches crossed the Sangre de Cristo Mountains and moved eastward into the Great Plains. They first acquired horses during the 1680s, This enabled the Comanches to have the mobility to become wide-ranging nomads. The Apaches in southern Colorado were suffering heavy attacks from the Comanches. Several of the Apache bands would therefore look for safety near Spanish settlements all the way down in New Mexico.
So it's basically like people nowadays just another example of picking and choosing what you want to get outraged at and what group of people you want to cancel for what reason fits you, because anywhere you look, there's people doing horrible shit in history.
Yeah, there is. But there's exactly. I mean, if there was if you heard of like a Mad Max style gang of like raiders that got taken off their land, you wouldn't be like, oh man, too bad, those guys are great. It'd be like, no, they were some
fucking brutal
bad hombres out there.
But it's one of those things where it's like you said before, like the history, who's writing the history book of this, because it's very, very, very different point of views,
of course,
on why, the only one in history that's just really tough to justify anything is the Nazis. It's like we have video evidence of you guys. Like, it's just tough to be like, I could see it Germany's way. It's like, I just can't. I just I don't know,
I got some friends trying to justify it pretty regularly, and I'm like, dude, stop trying to justify this.
No, that one you just, whichever way you slice, you're like, dude, you got to just fucking apologize.
You got to say sorry. Don't tweet some non-apology.
Do it. So in closing then, I mean, this dude, the what was his name, Parker? Quanah Parker, he had many wives too, 24 children. Venetia wrote, his polygamous ways bothered the U.S. government, but apparently not the fact that he previously killed settlers. So now she's switching. Now she's saying, like, you know what? Like, he has like many wives, but like, why the fuck is he killing these people?
I think some people from like Parker's, like that raid were at when he was hanging out with Roosevelt. Like, people would see him speak and be like, this motherfucker. Like, they'd see him in like a car.
Because they were raided against.
With the, like, this guy just fucking, you should have seen what this guy did to us.
There's a story from a first-person account that shows just how cruel Quanah and his men could be at times. If they captured another tribe's old women, those who couldn't have babies or help work, they would use them for target practice. The young warriors had to prove themselves how strong they were, whether they could kill another person, or if they would be weak and have pity. They would tie them to a tree and shoot them with a spear or bow and arrow. They would gamble on it, saying, I can get her eyes.
Did you see what this guy did to my fucking aunt?
He's hanging out with the president?
Yeah.
Like, this is weird.
Interesting. Well, Teddy Roosevelt's statue just got taken down.
My fucking aunt.
Dude, Teddy Roosevelt's statue just got taken down, so I guess it's fucking some Comanches. They're back. He encouraged Christianization of Comanche people. He also advocated the syncretic Native American church. Is there still a Native American church? Is that like the Church of Latter-day Saints or something? Yeah. Is that what it is? That's not right. No, you just said, that's no way that's right.
I forgot about that. This was towards the end of the book where it got pretty gay.
Yeah, it just got, you were like, all right.
Where it was like, he did some cool things. I think his father-in-law and him died. Well, his father-in-law died in they didn't know how the lamps worked in this hotel they were in. They just kept the gas running all night.
Right.
He just died in his sleep from...
And then how did he die?
He survived that. I don't know how he died. I forget. He's a geezer.
Yeah.
Like cancer.
Like, just he died like an old guy.
Yeah.
That's a fucking hilarious way to die, though. It's just
you left the light on.
You somehow survive raids and Comanche shit and rapings, and then you just die. A lamp killed you. Dude, I mean, what can you do?
Criticism. That's hilarious. We're looking at his Wikipedia
What's the criticism?
Page.
Yeah, what's the criticism on QAnon? He had Comanche critics. Some claim that he sold out to the white man. I'd say so.
Definitely.
Yeah, dude. I mean, but 100%. Fucking, I mean, what is he gonna do? Sleep in fucking buffalo bodies for the rest of his life? No, dude. The guy wants a gas lamp.
Real Uncle Quanah.
Here we go. Yeah. He also refused to follow U.S. marriage laws and had up to 8 wives at one time. Venetia highlighted that. Sick. I know. I say fucking hero. He dressed and lived what some would call European American more than the Comanche style.
I can't believe that this is what this has Wikipedia's criticism of this guy.
Yeah, because he didn't.
Is him being too white.
Yeah.
Not war crimes.
Yeah. I mean, he also fucking raped and mutilated children, but because he wasn't, because he wore a suit instead of his fucking Halloween costume, they, but it's just funny because you're right. Yeah. It's just what the U.S. shit does. It's like you're not mentioning the fact that he killed and scalped people. You're saying that the actual crime is him being too white. which is just like what the world that we live in.
It is.
It's just not reality. I know why people did bad shit. Of course they fucking do horrible shit. But like we were saying, so does everybody. Everybody does horrible shit.
Yeah, so get off our fucking back, would you?
Dude, we're doing the best that we can. We're doing the best that we can. And if you want the white race to survive, do what's right in November. No. Zoom in on Shane's face. No. I'm kidding, dude.
No,
dude, he defended the right to use peyote during Native American rituals.
Yeah,
did you do peyote with Doug Stanhope? I didn't know this. The movie, the John Wayne movie, The Searchers.
Oh yeah,
was based on Parker.
Quanah Parker's uncle, I think it was. He like spent his life trying to find her, which is fucking cool.
Like in real life.
Into that, yeah. And he went on some wild missions. Like he would lose his horse and have to like survive a blizzard on the plains by himself. Like really. Fucking sick.
Did he ever find them?
I think he did. He got word that somebody found her. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Good.
Yeah, I think I could be fucking this up, but like she had a really shitty fucking life.
Who?
Like the Parker lady.
Ann Parker.
I think when she got rescued, she was rescued she was in New Mexico when they were bringing her back, and there was like a Pueblo uprising where they were like beheading the officials of the town, and like she was like, oh, I'm finally rescued. She wasn't excited to be rescued, but she was rescued. She was in like a hotel.
Yeah.
And there was just wild fucking day.
Yeah.
Like everywhere she went. Is that her?
Yeah.
Was there another?
No. She was also like, paraded. Like everybody's celebrating the fact that she returned, and she's like, I'm depressed. Like my whole family just got murdered. Like,
and then she killed herself the worst way possible. Starving?
I know. She took keto to the extreme.
She did go keto.
Intermittent fasting. Dude, yeah, well, that's like what Gandhi did. Didn't Gandhi starve himself to death?
Yeah, but he wasn't just sad.
Yeah.
He wasn't just...
James Parker, Cynthia Ann's uncle, took 5 solo trips into Comanche country to look for his daughter Rachel and Cynthia Ann. During these expeditions, James Parker endured floods, blizzards, and near starvation in search of the captives, and at one point he even strangled and ate a skunk to stay alive. He even at one point sneaked into a Comanche encampment and left messages written in English near waterholes. He eventually successfully helped Rachel Parker get released and return home safely.
It's important for everybody listening to this to know I'm a big fan of the Comanches.
You like the Comanches?
I like what they were up to.
But then do you want to call it Indigenous People Day or Columbus Day?
Well, look, man.
Do you want to just call it?
Very complicated.
How about with this? Just to do it. Why don't we call it Comanche Columbus Day?
That would rule. That's
it. That's what we're going to change to. We're going to get specific. We're going to call it Comanche Columbus Day. I like Indigenous Peoples Day presented by Christopher Columbus Day.
Yeah. It is good.
That's what it is.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's like, because then it's like everybody's happy. It's like, this is what it is. It's Indigenous Peoples presented by Christopher Columbus Day.
You should have worn a mask day.
Yeah, exactly.
Too bad they didn't have those N95s back then, you know?
Yeah, exactly, dude. Then you would have fucking not got smallpox like an idiot. October 23rd, you're going to be in Texas.
I'll be in Comancheria.
Dude, you will be in Comancheria, right? Is that where Dallas was, Comancheria?
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where Dallas is in Texas.
Part of Texas was Comancheria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good chunk.
Nice chunk. All right. Well, that's what a short person from history that he thinks is cool. So
wait till he hears about the Comanches.
Oh, dude, no, he's the Comanche.
He should be fired.
He listens to the episodes. He's gonna. I guarantee you, Squeak's gonna be the Comanche.
These are short kings.
Yeah, short kings. Yeah.
But Steven.
Well,
why is America #1, dude?
I thought we covered that.
All right. I just want to hear it again.
I wanted to also too, because one thing I think is kind of funny, but I'm like failing to make it funny, is just this idea of explanations, which I'm going to talk about in the talk, and this is in part 1, but how all cultures have had rain dances. I talked to you about this.
Oh, yeah, this is great.
And I just think it's interesting because, first of all, a rain dance is an explicit attempt at weather modification. So, like, no matter what you want to say about people in the West, you're destroying the weather. It's like, that's what they were trying to do. It's just that they failed at it.
Fair.
So that we're kind of like, like we look at it with a degree of reverence.
If they're blasting lasers, we wouldn't be like, oh.
Right, or if their rain dances worked.
True that.
What I was saying to Shane was like, if you've lived with somebody that likes the thermostat slightly different, you know how annoying that gets.
Yeah.
If you all of a sudden you go out in the morning and it's raining and you're like, fucking.
fucking savages.
Fucking doing it again.
Oh my god.
Goddamn Redskins.
That's so
Anti-rain
fucking
dance.
funny. God, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
to think about.
the rain dance, to think of it as attempted weather modification.
I mean, it is,
I
dude.
mean, no, of course it's what it is. But
That's
it's
crazy.
just funny to look at it in that light.
And again, though, but people look at
Chemtrails, dude.
It was Native American chemtrails.
Yeah, dude, they
There
were fucking-
smoke signals. They were fucking
Yep.
dancing.
they wanted
Put
to make
aluminum
the
in the air.
progress that we make. They just didn't know how.
Fair enough.
And
They didn't fucking get jiggy with it enough, dude.
True.
They should have danced harder.
Damn, the times that it must have appeared to have worked must have just
I
been,
know.
must have been the most lit fucking
Well,
party
dude, it'd be
ever.
the same thing as like an open mic when like you're out, your rain dance didn't work. Some guy like drizzled a little bit. He's like, dude, you just gotta loosen up. Just fucking, you just gotta be yourself, dude.
It's like,
Just
dude,
do
you're
what
pretty
comes to
funny.
mind.
You're funny. That was good. It's like,
Like, it got a little humid,
Thunder.
dude. It got humid out there. You just gotta fucking just let him have it.
humid.
I've been doing this for like 15 years, bro. It's like I know what I'm
Yeah.
doing. That was people who thought they were the shit at rain dancing must have been so funny.
they must have like hit it once or twice and then just been like, I'm not doing it again. I can't do it. Like every 10 years, they'd hit one. Dude, if you hit a rain dance, you'd be the fucking man.
It's over,
Yes.
dude. It's over. Well, there was another book talking about that and how like God evolved, where there'd be like people who would do that, and then they'd be like, "Yep, this guy's in charge of everything," and then he'd do it again, it didn't work, and he'd be like, "Which one of you guys did something fucked up?" And they're all like, "Oh shit!
Yeah.
Oh, I did something fucked up. Ah, he knows."
It's like in Apocalypto when there's the eclipse. Do you see Apocalypto?
No, I want to see that.
He's an Aztec.
I almost lied and
or a
said
Mayan.
yes.
Yeah, that
I always do that
happens. I
movie.
always do that
Yes.
shit. And it's like, you know the part where that happens? And it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that part. And I'm always such a psycho that in my mind I'm like, maybe they're just making that up to try to trap me. I'm that much of a fucking psycho. But in Apocalypto, they're doing the Aztec thing where they're ripping people's fucking hearts out and cutting their heads off the top of pyramids, which they did at an astounding rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like lines would be miles long.
Jesus.
This is a bad rain dance.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was a real bad rain dance. And
Yeah.
the worst fucking rain dance possible.
exactly, explicitly trying to.
But then
control.
there's just a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse while he's about to get his heart ripped out, and they're all just like, "Whoa, the sun god has had its fill of blood. Let this guy go. Fuck yeah!" But it's just
That's awesome, man.
It's funny that just a freak occurrence happened, and he was.
Well,
he didn't-
dude,
So as for the rain dances, the Cherokee tribe used rain dances both to create rain and to remove evil spirits from the earth. During a rain dance, they would wear feathers and turquoise, which to them symbolized wind and rain. It has also been said that Native Americans in the Midwest often tracked and followed known weather patterns. They would then offer to do a rain dance for settlers in return for trade items.
his head cut
that's
off.
crazy to think of people who were in that time. And then I always think about this when like 500 years they're gonna look at us and be like, those fucking idiots. Like when it changed from 1998 to like 2005, 2010, I remember thinking like, damn, I live in the fucking tens now, dude. This sucks. I was like, I'm just like some
That's funny.
shitty
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
dude in the tens.
Yeah.
To where like I look back on 1910, I'm like, idiot,
I think of
fucking
that.
moron.
I think of that all the time.
Now I'm like, fuck, man. I'm in the
Yeah.
fucking tens, dude. I was on the end of it. Now I'm
You're
just
at
like
the end of the sickest century.
shitting in my fucking hat, dude. I'm like, this sucks.
That's all right. You'll die in the 50s, which is sick. Hopefully there's another civil rights. Hopefully the 2050s includes.
2050 is gonna be fucking the size 42 dungaree march, dude. They're gonna be
It
like, stop
is.
holding
They're
me
gonna be
down.
fire hosing white dudes.
They probably will.
I'm gonna deliver the "I have a dream."
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, I have a dream."
Just Alex Jones voice.
I'm sick of seeing black movies. I'm sick of seeing ESPN do blackface every day. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, dude, that's like
But yeah, that was.
that's hilarious.
Your parents are fucking every day in front of you. You're just sitting there.
And some guys like, yo, you want to go fucking and get gold?
Gonna
And
go build a fort in Virginia. I gotta let you read that book, dude.
What
More
book's
on the
that?
Run, dude.
What's that about?
It's about. I read it a while ago, and then I started reading it again. It's about Robert Rogers. He was like the first Army Ranger. He was like he was like the precursor to Special Forces
That's
in modern
fucking
military,
awesome,
and he
dude.
lived in pre-French and Indian War America in like Vermont, New England, and I've talked about it a bunch of times on his.
What's he do? What's
the
his
savages would come in and kill everybody in his town.
Oh, didn't he take up with the savages?
Then he kind of took up with the savages. Like he was raised alongside a tribe with his town.
Yeah, yeah.
So he
studied
knew
their
the
moves.
land. He knew the land, and he knew modern war was going to be different than standing in line. So he formed kind of like a special forces where they could travel long distances.
So he's the reason our
Small
Navy
parties.
SEALs are so sneaky, basically.
They still study his maneuvers to this day.
Dude. That's tight.
Yeah, but the first couple of chapters are all about like landing in America.
And it's being like,
And, like,
holy shit.
His family and another family, they're Scots-Irish,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, we can try to make our own outside of this village. Let's try to. They formed clans. They joined families with another family and bought like 600 acres for like 11 pounds.
In America?
Yeah.
Who'd they buy it off?
It was British.
Whatever bull was chilling.
Yeah, but then it was kind of like you said, like they would let the white trash kind of be a buffer.
Yeah.
So his family was a white trash buffer.
And they'd be like, go ahead, bro.
And they're like, you can have that land if you can settle it.
Damn.
And then up until Thomas Jefferson, nobody had really gone west of, like America hadn't really expanded at all.
Where'd TJ go?
The Louisiana Purchase.
That was TJ?
He got all that shit, yeah.
In the Louisiana Purchase, Thomas Jefferson wanted to buy the port of New Orleans from the French so that the United States could control the gateway to the Mississippi River instead of any of the European powers at that time. However, France's ruler, Napoleon Bonaparte, was no longer interested in establishing a North American empire. So, he directed the negotiators to offer all of the Louisiana territory. The American envoys in Paris could not afford to wait 2 months for a letter of approval and accepted the deal right there on the spot on April 30th of 1803 for a price of 4 cents an acre.
And he led.
I like to see a couple pages of his journal, dude.
He led. He was the one who founded the Lewis and Clark expedition.
Yeah.
So the first two presidents were just like, we don't even know about the Pacific Ocean. They're like, we're not going over there.
No, that was the other thing.
We're not heading over there.
They were saying that
Probably knew about it.
He was like kind of like scoffing at the fact that like when they got there, the Native Americans were like, there's like a big sea if you go like 7 days walk from here. And dude, the language barrier is unimaginable. And they're like, and this guy actually thought like the South Indian Ocean was like 7 days away. And it's like, dude, fuck you. Let me drop you off in the woods, dude, on a state game. See how you make it out. Someone's like, yo, it's that way. You'd be like, thank you.
Let's drop you off in Strawberry Mansion, dude.
Yeah, I just
See if you get out of that
chaps my ass
without getting burnt at the stake.
That's the ultimate armchair quarterback to be like, and he crashed into the wrong landmass on his sailboat.
Looking at history.
Yeah, just being like, clearly these guys are. He was saying like the people who weren't suckers stayed in England. And it's like, yeah, it's more than being a sucker, dude. It's like these people were poor as fuck.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any other choice really, and a lot of them were indentured servants too. So it's like. Yeah, it's a bullshit,
like a
bullshit thesis. And I've had people tell me like, "Oh, this is really good," and I'm reading it. And I'm like, I can't fuck with this guy, dude.
You know what? It's a weird thing that I've always been bothered by is like in this country, if you want, like everybody always prefaces things like this is America, and in America we love an underdog, or like in America we love it. It's like first of all, everyone loves a fucking underdog, and stop talking about this country.
Yeah.
As though you've traveled the world.
I know.
It always bothers me when people are like, this is a racist country.
Oh, dude.
Like, have you traveled, dude? Why don't you ask Sudan if they're racist?
Have you gone anywhere, dude? Have you even read to find out, like, it? That's the other thing, too. And they're like, this country's founded on racism. And it's like, dude, read about them. Like, there's been so many other genocides all over the world for the same thing. Have been like, yeah, you guys are the other guy. Fuck you guys. That's so fucking annoying.
We're spinning our wheels.
This country's founded on white supremacy.
Like,
so that's like, you see people in Western PA, their grandfathers fucked up some Indians, dude. Not long ago either, dude. I'm talking like 1920.
No, more than that.
Whatever. 1800s.
Yeah.
Went and bucked up some Indians, dude.
It was longer than that in PA.
Whatever
PA
it was.
got settled a long time ago.
But that was the boys who came in. They were just buffering them around. Whenever Indians were like in Ohio.
You got to clear out some Indians, though.
You got to
clearing out.
Yeah, but you got to use the absolute. People were doing the do back
I'm gonna
then.
Say this.
That was a Mountain Dew commercial back then.
Of all the horrific genocides in human history, I can handle the Native Americans getting brushed off the land.
You like that one?
I'm all right with that one.
Okay.
A bunch of dudes with Mountain Dew coming up and be like, get these fucking pieces of shit off this land.
That must have been wild, dude.
Well, it's funny. It's such a weird double standard to have. I mean, I get it if you are like, I can't believe America did this.
Yeah.
If you don't know history at all,
well,
and you think America is such a good
nice. It's like you can't have a nice empire.
Yeah, well, you don't. Yeah, you don't meet Turks and be like evil bastard.
No, of course not.
They genocided the Armenians.
Yeah,
that's the show, The Young Turks.
Every country.
Yeah, that's true.
Every country genocided somebody.
It's true.
Like, and another thing with the Indians is like, how do you think they got that land?
Yeah.
They genocided some other fucking tribe.
They definitely did.
They were at war with each other constantly.
Forever, dude. It's always been that way.
And they weren't like sophisticated, nice people.
Yeah.
I've done this like so many times.
But no, it's
just it's such a funny, like, if you look at history at all and if you look at history with like rose glasses where you're like, America's this beautiful place, it's like, obviously you're wrong.
Yeah.
So when people bring up like the atrocities committed against Native Americans, it's like, yeah, I mean, this is shocking when I was in 7th grade. I'm an adult now.
In 7th grade, they fed me the cornucopia story where like they split a turkey and they're like, hey, let's teach you some skills.
And then later you find out it's like, oh shit, we killed all those guys.
And then after for dessert, dude, they were like,
yeah, you want some Mountain Dew? It's got smallpox. That's how they actually killed him.
Gave him some
They gave him some Code Red, and the natives were like, they fucking died.
They didn't have an Xbox anywhere, and they're like, I don't know what the fuck to do.
But yeah, it's so funny. It's funny to think about, like, people just showed up and were like, this is pretty nice land.
Well, dude, when you read that book...
Who the fuck are these idiots? Get them out of here.
When you read White Trash, it was like the English government was just rounding up the poorest of fucking shitty... Like, literally taking orphans.
Do you have that in hard copy?
No.
God
my brother has that. Yeah, my brother has that. That's great.
I need one.
Dude, that's great. So they would round up orphans and then just put them on a boat and be like... over. So, like, you'd have these people who were just, like, absolute mud kickers, dude. Landed in America... And then they're just like, all right, I guess I'm here now. Arrow goes through your wife's neck, and they rape 30 people. And you're like, who the fuck are these guys?
You gotta find
and that's what happened, dude.
Nancy Eisenberg, in her book White Trash, explains how, according to historical records, an underclass of white people have been used as advanced shock troops for upper-class people. If an area is undesirable, the lower-class whites were allowed to move there and make that area safe. Then, the upper classes would come and displace the lower-class white people.
That's the Thomas Sowell guy talks about this, and it makes a lot of sense when people talk about slavery, whether you're dealing with slavery in the abstract or you were living during that time. And when people are like, they get mad at Lincoln being like, well, when he freed the slaves, he was kind of cold and calculated. He should have been more moralistic about it. And it's like, you can say that now, but it's like if you were the president, imagine if you were the president back then. Like, these people there was millions of slaves in the South, so they were really worried about, like, if you free them, are they going to come fuck you up and kill you?
Yeah.
Like, the Thomas Jefferson has a famous quote of being like, you had the wolf by the ears, dude. He's like, what do? Do you fucking let it go? They got, some guy wrote a love story between him and his, like, teenage slave, and it got a lot of negative press, dude.
Yeah, I bet
they got a lot of negative press.
Well, I bet they were eating some pizza, too.
Pizzagate. They're like, he's a rapist and blah, 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 and the guy wrote the story like a love story, basically. And, that's
you brought up an interesting point when we were talking about this book earlier about how I keep wanting to say Sowell. Thomas
Sowell, yeah. It's Sowell.
Yeah. How he talked about how, like, they also the Western Europeans also abolished slavery.
They did.
Like, this
no one talks about that.
This is an institution that it built the pyramids.
Yeah.
This is an institution that's been around since as long as humans were even remotely civilized.
Yeah.
They've had caste systems and slavery. And then it led up in human history. It took the great white man to say, knock it off.
It was the English, dude.
Yeah.
Even the French were like, nah, slavery's still chill. And then they finally folded. Yeah, dude.
I think it was like the Portuguese were the last ones.
Yep.
I think in Brazil it was still going.
Yep. But then there was
the US and Brazil
there was the Arabs in Asia, man, and they were still rocking in the free world.
Still going.
They got stamped out hard though, and then they would fly French flags, and the British government wasted millions of pounds on abolishing slavery worldwide. So it's like, yeah, I know.
What do you think of that?
They were the biggest slave exporter too. That's like, dude, that's
while they also kind of enslaved the Irish people.
That's true too.
The Irish were slaves.
Well, dude,
that should be the name of our podcast.
The Irish slaves.
The Irish were slaves. Just think.
But it's annoying because if you point out, like you were saying, the fact that, like, yeah, well, you know, white people did, and that's the guy Sowell being like, no one talks about the fact that it was Western Europeans stopped slavery globally.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it's a pretty good
but
thing.
To say that is like, how dare you?
Why would you say that?
It's like, hey, we were bad boys and we were good boys, dude.
Yeah.
Everybody was bad boys.
If you want to break it down like a psycho into races and geography, of all the areas in the world that were bad boys throughout human history, which they all were.
Yeah.
the one that was like, we should knock this off.
Mm-hmm.
It was the fucking British, wasn't it?
So slavery was something that existed in ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome. Japan had a slave system that was created in the 3rd century AD. Korea had slave markets more than 2,000 years ago. There are records of slave markets in Ireland in the 9th century. It has even been said that the practice of slavery can be traced back to 11,000 years ago. Thomas Sowell, who Shane mentions, wrote an essay going against popular belief that society holds nowadays, blaming the Western countries and white people as the culprits of slavery. Thomas Sowell argues that slavery was a universal institution accepted and embraced by nearly all human societies throughout history.
Yeah.
Let's talk slaves.
You want to talk slaves?
We already covered gay bullshit. Let's cover some slavery.
What you want to talk about?
What do you think of slaves, dude?
Not for me.
Not for me either.
Not for me, dude.
Couldn't agree more.
I don't want them.
I would hate
That would be awkward as fuck if just someone showed up at your house with a slave and you'd be like, dude, what the fuck? You can't have a fucking slave. Like, get out of here, dude. You can't have a slave in here. It's like, oh, come on, dude. What the fuck? I'd be so uptight. Like, dude, you can't have
a southern dude bringing a slave to
just someone came.
Like during I bet that had to have happened.
Oh, no doubt.
In like the Civil War time, like right when the North was like abolitionists, no more slavery.
There's still people who are just like, fuck it, you can't tell me not to have a slave. And they had a couple, they had like a little head stash. They're like, they got a couple fucking kicking around.
I got some guys back there. They have fun. What am I gonna do?
So Asians were like 6% or whatever it was, very low percentage of traffic fatalities. Black, white, Hispanic, all tied.
Wow.
Native Americans coming in hot at like 30 per
yeah.
It's per capita of race.
Yeah.
Native Americans are by far the leaders of fucking just dying.
That's sick.
I had no idea.
Well, that makes perfect sense.
You think so?
Number one, they booze hard as fuck.
True.
Most of them are depressed.
Yeah.
Most of them are poor. And they also live on areas where the speed limit's like 90 miles an hour.
That's true.
If they get into any type of accident, that car is fucking exploding every time, dude.
That's true. I feel like they're always driving with like a heavy metal wah-wah behind them, like, whee!
Yeah, Indians love heavy metal.
No, that is true. That like nobody gives a fuck. That's like of all the SJW stuff going on right now, we definitely butt fuck the Native Americans.
The Native Americans?
Hardest.
Yeah,
dude.
well,
like insanely.
You never see them.
In modern-day America, there are approximately 326 federally recognized Indian reservations and 567 Native American tribes. The total population in Indian reservations is around 1 million. In total, it is said that there are around 5 million Native Americans in the United States today. The two largest modern-day Native American tribes are the Navajo and the Cherokee. The Navajo count a population of around 400,000 and the Cherokee of around 300,000. As a comparison, the Comanche have around 17,000 members as of today. If you enjoyed this video and found it interesting, please consider liking and subscribing. As always, all of the socials to Shane Gillis and his podcast with Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast are linked down below, so definitely go and check them out. So that was all for today, and I hope to catch you on the next one.